So now it looks like Sony are going to be buying Paramount Global. What does that mean for Star Trek? Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. I'm very interested to see what this is going to mean for things like Yellowstone as well. And ask the question, what does this mean for Star Trek? Now, it does look like Sony and the investment group Apollo really have taken the lead and will be buying Paramount Global. For one, we know that it looks like Sony are not interested in the streaming side of things, and Paramount Plus will probably be going across to Netflix. But more importantly, there is an issue at the moment with Star Trek because basically Star Trek is a two-pronged fish. Is that a saying? Probably not. But there is two problems here going on. One is that you've got the movie rights and the movie side to Star Trek, and you've got the TV rights and the TV side of Star Trek. Right, so CBS traditionally has the TV rights, and Paramount has the movie rights. Now, we've seen a separation in rights before. A few years ago, there was a Viacom CBS split with these two companies. They returned and became Paramount Global again a few years later. But for a little while, the TV rights and the movie rights were separated. And from that, we got to see the J.J. Abrams movies. Now, there was lots of rumours that went around at the time saying that the J.J. Abrams movies had to be 25% different due to the legality of the rights. Now, I've been told repeatedly by people that are actually in the know that that wasn't true. A lot of the differences were brought in because of J.J. Abrams just wanting them because he hates Star Trek, I think is the best thing. But he wanted to put his authority and his stamp on Star Trek, so he made lots of differences. He made lots of changes in just things like the Enterprise and stuff. So those rumours about this need for a 25% difference apparently were never really true. But it did cause lots of other problems. Now, one of the things that Sony is really concerned about is having a separation between the movies and the TV. What I'm being told is that Sony have already spoken to Apollo and said that, look, when this happens, you're going to own CBS, we're going to own Paramount, but we want to do something with Star Trek that allows us to continue still working together. We want the movies and the series to be the same with each other, congruent with each other. I think Sony probably look at their relationship with Marvel and think, oh, we don't want to do that again. Between Sony, Spider-Man, or whatever, the complications that's caused. Now, Sony been really good with Marvel and Disney, and they've negotiated hard to keep Spider-Man and to allow those movies to exist within the Marvel Universe. And they have done a sort of preliminary sort of agreement, like, one of those marriage agreements you have, a prenup that you have before a marriage. They have agreements in place with Apollo about what's going to be done with certain IP. Now, in this case, the Star Trek IP, it looks like they're going to return back to the plan that Warner Brothers had previously, that was actually going to be some sort of the creation of some sort of Star Trek studios. That would basically mean Paramount buying out Secret Hideout, creating a Star Trek studio, and then that produces all of the Star Trek content for the future. This would be a company that could be owned by Sony and Apollo in theory. They could jointly own it. I'm not 100% certain what the current agreement is, but it seems to be that's basically the plan, to create this separate entity within Paramount that can create all of the Star Trek content in the future. Now, why am I excited by that? We're already moving in this direction now, where the TV and the movies are going to be much closer to each other. The J.J. Abrams movie, and that and the Kelvin timeline seems to be being pushed away at the moment. The new movie that we know about is going to be a prequel that is established before the Kelvin split. So we know it's going to be within the Prime universe. And I think that's really important. And it shows where Paramount are already thinking, and Secret Hideout are already thinking about going. I'm being told Sony wants to push that even further. Now, you'll know I'm talking, going back about 6 months or more now on SciTrek, that there was a lot of conversation within Paramount about the future of Star Trek and how a lot of people thought, look, it was too complicated, there's too many timelines, and the movies and the series, they kind of don't help each other. These things should be going hand in hand. This should be a multi-format franchise. Instead, it's separated. And there's a lot of very high up people that unfortunately don't work at Paramount anymore, were very much arguing for Secret Hideout to be removed from Star Trek and for the whole franchise to be brought together so that the movies would help the series and the series would help the movies and so on, instead of the separation. And also, more importantly, we would get rid of at least one major timeline. They were arguing actually that they should return to the prime timeline, and that would mean the end of Strange New Worlds and potentially scrapping of the Star Trek Academy plan, Star Trek 90210. That hasn't happened yet, but we're still probably moving in that direction, at least in some way. What does this mean for Star Trek if Sony do take over and win the fight to take over Paramount Global? I think, from what I'm being told, that there really will be this separation of Star Trek and creation of Star Trek Studios. Does that mean Alex Kurtzman is going to be kicked out of Secret Hideout? I'm being told probably not. He will be bought out, but probably given a very cushy role within that. I'm being told that Sony are really impressed with Roddenberry Productions and the Roddenberry Company, and they would probably like to sort of promote them a little bit within the Secret Hideout universe and give them a little bit more power within that new Star Trek Studios, whatever they call it. And Kurtzman would probably quite like a couple of movies through Sony. Basically, very similar to what Warner Brothers were going to do with Alex Kurtzman. They were going to basically buy him off with a movie deal. Say, look, you step away from Star Trek, step away slowly, keep your hands where we can see them, and we'll give you a couple of movies, all right, to stop whinging. That was basically Warner Brothers' plan. It looks like Sony are going to do something similar. I think they might have to kick Kurtzman out, kicking and screaming. I can see like Alex Kurtzman nail marks down the wall as they try and drag him out the door. But I do think it's probably what's best for Star Trek. I do think there's a problem, and I keep talking about this, that there's a problem within Star Trek that the fan base is divided. It would be nice to have a little bit of more unity within the Trek fan base, and one easy way Sony could do that is remove Alex Kurtzman, because he is the figurehead for a lot of the unpleasure, that's not a word, displeasure, that we get from a lot of the Star Trek fan base, particularly the older fan base like me, that don't like New Trek quite so much as we love Voyager and Deep Space Nine and TNG, and we're very glad the Discovery's been cancelled. But that fan base would very much like to see Kurtzman gone, and Sony will probably do that in some way. Maybe not as aggressively as Warner Brothers were planning, though. So that seems to be where we're at the moment. Back to where we were under the Warner Brothers plan, really, in lots of ways. That there is still going to be this idea of a Star Trek Studios or something similar. And the movies and TV series that are going to come back together. That when we get movies, they're actually going to have an influence in the universe on the television screen. That's what we want, I think. Is Sony the best place for Star Trek? But guys, get into the comments and tell me what you think. The Apollo group is a bit of an unknown, but we kind of know what Sony is capable of doing with TV shows. So are we excited about that? I'd love to know what you think. Get into the comments. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. You never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can go to patreon.com/SciTrek, where most of our new videos do premiere first. And you get to see them without the adverts. You lucky bunnies. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.